Hello everyone, I'm Aledo here from Miami. I'm going to do a very quick update. Let's going to call this a strategic level update on the war between Russia and Ukraine. A long time since I did my update because there have been so many issues and so many changes and so many stages in the war that change month to month for the last 6, 7 months, 8 months. There have been so many changes on the stages that we are, that the war is. So I have been waiting to see the strategic view, the strategic level analysis that I'm going to do. And I think today, and I'm talking about mid-February 2023, it's going to be soon 1 year since the war began. So I wanted to do my comments about this. And I'm going to talk about some points, some specific points of what's going on and what might happen in this war. First of all, I want to recall once again, this war did not begin as such. In February of 2022, that's false. The latest phase, the actual invasion, military invasion of Russia to Ukraine did begin in February 2022. The actual war began in February 2014. In December 2013, Russia and Ukraine signed a peace agreement, a commercial agreement. There was peace and love between Ukraine and Russia. Don't believe me, go to Google. December 2013, Yanukovych, from democratically elected, legitimately elected president of Ukraine, signed with Putin this agreement between Russia and Ukraine. Commercial agreement, peace agreement. There was no war. There was no invasion of Crimea. There was no military action. There was no missiles or tanks or invading or killing each other. There was peace and love between the two countries. Obama did not like that. Obama and the United States, ever since 1996, when Clinton pushed for the expansion of NATO to the east, Obama and the United States before, all the American presidents before him since 1996, they look to the expansion of NATO and they look to gain control of Ukraine. Ukraine was the big prize, the number one prize of the post-Cold War world. They wanted to do a conquer of Ukraine. They want to transform Ukraine into a post-Christian West colony, into a post-Christian West, let's call it a vassal state. That was the objective since Clinton of 1996. And when Ukraine signed this agreement with Russia in December of 2013, Obama got furious. He sent Victoria Nuland, Google, Victoria Nuland, and she was the architect of this so-called revolution, Maidan Revolution in February of 2014. 100% anti-Russian revolution, 100% pro-European Union and pro-US revolution. Actually a coup, actually an insurgent action that took away the legitimate government of Ukraine by act of street violence, of mob violence. That's it. That is what happened in February of 2014. You can go and Google Victoria Nuland. You can Google and go to YouTube and Google Victoria Nuland famous call, what she's saying about the European Union. You can Google about the $5 billion that the United States spent in some years. They call it in democratic education. Basically, it was anti-Russian propaganda, anti-Russian hatred. They were trying to turn Ukraine against Russia, the Ukrainian people. And this is, you need to understand something. Ukraine is this made-up country with so different people inside. It's a multi-ethnic country, and it's a multicultural country. There is no such thing as one Ukraine with one people called Ukrainian people. The east and south, and Crimea, obviously, of Ukraine is made of pro-Russian people, people who speak Russian as first language, who think themselves as Russians, who believe in this concept of all the Russians, where they believe that Ukraine is an integral part of Russia. They see themselves as Russia. They practice their Russian Orthodox Christianism. They belong to the Russian Orthodox Church. They believe in this concept of all the Russians, and they see themselves as Russians and Ukraine as part of Russia. In the north and west, a lot of the country of Ukraine that were formerly part of Hungary and formerly especially part of Poland. Remember, after the Second World War, a big chunk of Poland was removed from Poland and given to this country called Ukraine. And that is the west part, the northwest part of Ukraine. Mostly Polish people of Polish heritage, of Polish culture. Over there, they hate Russia. They don't want anything to do with Russia. They always look to the West. They always look to Europe, to Poland, to France, to England. And in the center, there is something called the historic true Ukrainian or Ukraine nation that is kind of neutral in this side, that have people of both, the Kiev. But this has another problem, because Kiev is the burning, I'm sorry, Kiev is the original place of the Russian nation, the Kievan Rus of the 9th century, of St. Olga and St. Vladimir the Great. That actually is the cradle of the Russian nation, part of the same country, part of the same entity. Later on, obviously, through the history, again, the North and West, they were looking to the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, anti-Russia. The South and East of the country, they were looking to Russia. The Cossacks, the revolts, the people of Russian Orthodox Church religion, people who see themselves as Russian, and this has been this internal conflict of what Ukraine is. There are two completely different visions. Obama, 2014, Victoria Nuland, they organize, plan, execute this coup against the true government of Ukraine. Don't believe me. John McCarry, one of the greatest intelligence analysts ever, the late John McCarry, to leave, J2 analyst at the Pentagon, one of the greatest, most brilliant, everybody, most of the most influential government and intelligence people in Washington, D.C. during years follow him during Night Watch. He also came to the same conclusion. This is a coup. This was organized by the United States, probably with MI6 help, with the UK help, the UK, British intelligence. It was an illegal coup. It divided the country. It put over there, let's call it, let's be honest, a puppet government in Kiev. Completely anti-Russian, 100% pro the United States. So the war began in February 2014. Then came the civil war between the Donbass, then came the occupation of Crimea. 15,000 people died in that civil war between pro-Russian and anti-Russian Ukrainians in the Donbass area. Then there came the Minsk agreement that Putin signed with Ukraine, trying to get a peaceful resolution with the help of France and Germany. But they were also a trap to Russia. They were trying to trap Russia. Angela Merkel just recently confessed they didn't have any intention at all to accomplish the Minsk agreement, Minsk 1 and Minsk 2. They were just buying time to arm and rearm Ukraine. That's it. It was a way to lie to the Russians, no real will to accomplish or those agreements, and they were just arming the Ukrainian army so they can fight Russia in the future. That's it. And Zelensky just recently said, he confessed it too, I did not have any intention of carry on the Minsk agreement. Russia sees a pro-Western Ukraine, a puppet of the United States Ukraine, as an existential threat. They cannot allow that, just like the United States could not allow Soviet missiles in Cuba pointing at the United States. That was an existential threat to the United States. A pro-Western Ukraine is an existential threat, not only because of the suffering and the pain of having millions of pro-Russian Ukrainians that see themselves as Russians under this government, but also because they see it as a military threat. They cannot have a powerful NATO arm, or much less NATO member, Ukraine, with armies close to Volgograd, to the industrial and energetic heart of Russia. Those who know history, Volgograd is Stalingrad. The Germans knew that if they were able to take Stalingrad during the Second World War, they would knock out the Soviet Union, because that's where the power is, that was the oil is. That's the industrial heart. That's why they try again and again in desperation, 1942, 1943, to take Stalingrad, Volgograd. Russia today, they know that. They cannot have, they need a buffer. They need a buffer. Ukraine is the buffer. A pro-United States, pro-NATO, NATO armed Ukraine next to Volgograd is something that they cannot allow. Then they came the November 2021 agreement, political, commercial, military agreement that Ukraine signed with the United States, where the United States, from a military aid, intelligence, commercial aid, everything, even to recover Crimea. That was the last drop that filled the glass of water. They could not ever allow that. That's what pushed the Russia to invade Ukraine. But again, going back to the war, 2022, February of 2022, Russia did not intend to do a long war. They wanted a coup inside of Ukraine. They wanted pro-Russian military officers to take over Ukraine. That's what they want. They want this to be a 3 weeks campaign. Destroy the radars, take some territory, promote a coup for the pro-Russian generals, remove Zelensky out of power, then negotiate a peace. That's it. The problem is, what Putin did not see is, number one, there were not a lot of pro-Russian generals, because for the last 8 years they have been purged out of the Ukrainian military. The SBU, the Ukrainian intelligence service, have been removing all kind of military officers out of the government, out of the military. They have been harassing the pro-Russian population of the East and the South. You can go to jail. You say that you're pro-Russian. You can be lynched. You can be subject to a beating. You can do whatever if you are a pro-Russian person. And much more if you are a military officer. You were either in jail or you were purged. So there were not a lot of pro-Russian generals. There were none, actually, or mostly not. So the coup did not work. Then the Russians destroy all the military equipment of Ukraine. They wipe out everything that Ukraine had. Hundreds and hundreds of tanks, hundreds of military vehicles, dozens and dozens of planes, of helicopters, of artillery pieces. They were destroyed. But then came, up to now, more than $120 billion, $120 billion in military aid from the United States and NATO countries, the European Union. and they replace from the ground, from the bottom, all the military equipment of the Ukrainian army. That's why we have a war today. But this war was supposed to end in March, April, the most, of 2022. It did not because of the $120 billion that the United States and the European Union have been paying, have been giving to Ukraine in military aid. That's why we have a war. But the original army, the original military equipment of the Ukrainians have been wiped out. That's why they don't have tanks now, because after the war came, they were wiped out. The United States gave billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars. The European Union gave billions and billions of dollars in military aid. Then the Russians were not ready for that big war. They did not have enough equipment, enough manpower. That's why Russia recalled 300,000 veterans, not new recruits, veterans. They recalled them back into the military. They rearmed, and Russia moved into a military time economy. Russia right now is in a military time economy. Weapons are being produced 24/7. All factories are being ordered by the government to produce military, to shift from civilian production into military production. This had never happened since World War II. But Russia now is unleashing the full power of the military industry, of the military complex, of their manpower. In September, the Ukrainians, with the help of the United States, with the intelligence of the United States, with the logistics of the United States, with billions and billions and billions of dollars of the United States, they were able to launch offensive. They launched 40,000 Ukrainians against a line, a territory that was defended by 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 Russians. The Russians pulled back, the Ukrainians took over, but they were almost kamikaze suicidal attacks because the artillery far superior. The Russian artillery is far superior than the Ukrainian artillery. They destroy enormous amount of the Ukrainian equipment during those offensives. They destroy their tanks, they destroy their artillery, they destroy their maneuver capability vehicles. The same happened in Kharkov, the same happened in Kherson. They took a lot of territory, the Ukrainian, at the cost of terrible losses, of terrible casualties. That's why they don't have any more tanks, because they were destroying those offensives. They call those offensive great victories. What they did not mention is the catastrophic level of casualties that the Ukrainians took during those offensives. Now we have a situation where Russia is unleashing its full power, and Russia, again, is not going anywhere. And the United States, the post-Christian West, the post-Christian secularist West, the pro-homosexual secularist West, the godless West, is now pushing for total war against Russia. They believe that if they keep sending enough money and billions and billions and billions of dollars to their puppet in Ukraine, Christian Russia will surrender. Christian Russia will say, okay, this is too costly, too expensive, a lot of people is dying, this is costing a lot of money, we're going back home. We're going to stop, we're going to back home, and that's it. We're going to give up Ukraine. There is nothing more absurd than that. That is completely wishful thinking, not based on reality, not based on the fact, not based on realism, but based in ideology, fanatic neocon globalist ideology. The United States did not have an option about the Soviet missiles in Cuba in 1962. It was an existential threat to the United States. Russia has not an option now in this Ukrainian war. They have to win or nobody wins, period. That's it. This is an existential threat to Russia, and this is what the neocon globalists in Washington, D.C. do not understand out of fanaticism out of irrational thinking, out of ideology. Remember, like I always say in my classes, ideology is the worst enemy of intelligence, of critical thinking, of logic, ideology. And based on the Russophobic, globalist, hawkish ideology, right now, Washington, D.C., Biden administration, the Biden administration is pushing the war closer than it had never been before, never, to nuclear war. This is what the neocons in Washington, D.C. don't understand. Russia does not have the option of back down, the option of retreating, the option of going back. The United States have that option in Vietnam. 1970s, oh, this is too expensive, it's too costly, we're wasting a lot of life, a lot of money, Vietnam is too far away, this is a problem, let's go back home, let's stop this war, let's go back home. The United States did that with Vietnam. They have that option in Vietnam. Russia doesn't have that option in Ukraine, period. They cannot back down. The United States and the Soviet Union had that option with Afghanistan. When Afghanistan was too expensive to the Soviet Union, to the communist Soviet Union, the Soviet Union, okay, we're going back home. This is too costly, too expensive. A year and a half ago, the Biden administration, oh, Afghanistan is too costly, too expensive, we're wasting a lot of life, a lot of money, it's too hard, we're going back home. Hey, let's go back home, guys, let's get out of here. This is it's a problem, it's not good, let's go back home. Russia doesn't have that option today in Ukraine. This is what the neocons cannot understand. This is an existential threat to Russia. Another thing that they don't understand is that the communist Soviet Union doesn't exist anymore. The Russian Orthodox Church, Christianism, the Christianism that comes from the Byzantine Empire, the Christianism that comes from before, from the conversion of St. Vladimir the Great, from St. Olga, the conversion of the Rus from paganism into Christianism. That Christianism took over communism, replaced the communist foundation of the state that was the Soviet Union, that doesn't exist anymore, and refounded the modern Russia that is now a Christian country, defender of natural moral law, the natural moral law. And I'm not talking about Fatima here. I'm Catholic and I believe in Fatima. Fatima is a complete different subject, a theological, very deep subject that comes from 1984, the consecration that St. John Paul II did to Russia in 1984. Perhaps, most likely, is the cause of the destruction, of the fall of the Soviet Union. But I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about Fatima. I'm not talking about the 1984 consecration. I'm being objective here from the pure secular political science viewpoint. Communism is not the foundation of Russia. Christianism, the Christianism of the Russian Orthodox Church, that comes from the Byzantine Empire. Remember, Moscow is, or they look themselves at the continuation of the Byzantine Empire. Once Constantinople fell to the Turks, Moscow became that third Rome, became that center of Orthodox Christianism. Rome, Constantinople, Moscow. But the neocons, the hawks, the globalists in DC, London, they do not understand this. They think that Russia is still communist. They think that Russia is still the KGB, that Russia is still this communist Soviet Union empire that wants to conquer the world. And that is nonsense. Just read Pat Buchanan. Just look at the videos of Colonel Douglas MacGregor. Listen to Dr. Colonel Douglas MacGregor. Listen to the videos of Colonel Richard Black. senator from Virginia, lawyer, military lawyer, colonel of the U.S. Army colonel. Listen to his video. Read to Pat Buchanan's article. Russia is no more a communist country, it's a Christian country that opposes what they see the degeneration of a post-Christian, godless Western world, post-Christian secularist Western world. And this is what they don't understand. Russia will not back down. Russia will only escalate and escalate and escalate. Every gun, every weapon, every dollar that Washington sends to Ukraine, to their puppet regime in Ukraine, get us closer and closer and closer to nuclear war. Because if Russia loses this war, and this is what they don't understand, this is what we call the unipolar hangover. If Russia, if a nuclear superpower with over 6,000 nuclear weapons loses a conventional war, it will escalate to nuclear. Period. Of course, it did not happen with Iraq. Of course, it did not happen with Serbia. Of course, it did not happen with Libya. Of course, it did not happen with Panama. Of course, it did not happen with Syria. Of course, because they were not nuclear powers. They only have tiny, small, conventional, small, weak, conventional armies. And in the case of Libya, they did not even have a real army. That's it. Panama did not have a real army. But when you defeat in the conventional warfare a nuclear superpower, that superpower will escalate to nuclear, period. They rather risk nuclear war, they rather risk nuclear holocaust, they rather risk mutual assured destruction than defeat and humiliation in the battlefield. That's what the great Pat Buchanan calls the Samson option. You want me dead? Okay, I die. But I don't die alone. You die with me. Take away the columns, we will all die. That's the Samson option. And every weapon, every dollar that Biden sends to Ukraine is pushing us closer and closer and closer to nuclear holocaust. What will happen first? Russia will use tactical nuclear weapons. Small tactical nuclear weapons over the Ukrainian army. 40, 50,000 Ukrainian soldiers will die in 2 days. That's it. Russia will win the war with tactical nuclear weapons. And if the United States or NATO attacks Russia conventionally as revenge, they don't have to do it because Ukraine is not part of NATO. There is no obligation to defend Ukraine militarily. But just as General Petraeus said in this nonsense, comical, kamikaze comment, oh, we will attack Russia, we should attack Russia. If the United States and NATO attack Russia after Russia attacks with small tactical nuclear weapons the army of Ukraine in Ukraine, then Russia will escalate and use their strategic nuclear weapons against the United States and Europe. Then we will have something called mutual assured destruction. Mutual assured destruction, by definition, means the destruction of everybody. Russia will be destroyed. Sochi will be destroyed. St. Petersburg will be destroyed. Moscow will be destroyed. Novgorod will be destroyed, of course. They will be wiped out. But so will be Washington, D.C., and New York City, and Los Angeles, and Chicago, and Boston, and London, and Paris, and Berlin. They will be all wiped out of the face of Earth. There will be big craters in all those cities. Mutual assured destruction. Russia have thousands and thousands of nuclear weapons that Iraq did not have, nor Serbia had, nor Syria, nor Libya. Russia have gliders, space gliders that go 15, 16, 17 times the speed of sound, and they can maneuver, and they can go and hit New York City anytime they want. And they can hit Los Angeles, and Boston, and Berlin, and Frankfurt, and Munich, and London. That's what the neocons in Washington, D.C. don't understand. They are playing with fire. Every dollar they send to Zelensky push the world closer and closer and closer to nuclear destruction, no, to mutual assured destruction. 500 million people dead in a few days. 500 million people dead in days. And after that, nuclear winter. 5 billion people dead out of starvation in a few months. Thank you, Biden. That's what you are pushing. This is what the neocons don't understand. This is what the warmongers in DC don't understand. They don't understand the cultural background, the religion, the theological background of this conflict between Russia and Ukraine. They don't understand this is an existential threat to Russia. They don't understand that Russia is not anymore a communist country. The Communist Party is a small opposition party in Russia. They don't understand the nationalism, the Christian nationalism of Russia right now. They don't understand what the natural moral law is right now. They come from St. Thomas Aquinas. They don't come. Obviously, they don't understand, and they give a damn about the message of Fatima. They don't understand the military reality, the Samson option, the great Pat Buchanan called. The most you defeat in a conventional warfare superpower, a nuclear superpower, that superpower will not back down and go home crying. That nuclear superpower will escalate and escalate and escalate and escalate and escalate and escalate. Russia must win this fight, or nobody wins. We all die. Nuclear holocaust, mutual assured destruction. Hopefully, I pray that doesn't happen, and I pray that somebody with a brain in Washington, D.C., somebody with a brain in Congress, somebody with a brain in London, pass this message to the political leader, to Biden, somebody, maybe Kissinger, even though I don't think so. He has been waving to the pressure. Maybe Elon Musk, maybe Colonel McGregor, maybe George Napolitano, maybe Colonel Richard Black. But I really hope that somebody pass this message to the policymakers before they get us all killed. Because that is going to happen. We're all going to die if there is a nuclear weapon. I pray to God that never happen, but that is what is going to happen. And the more the United States keep sending money to Zelensky, the more the United States keep blowing gasoducts, the most the United States attack Russian property and destroy Russian life. This is the future of humankind right now. Sadly, I'm using here analysis of competing hypotheses. I'm using a possibility. I'm using a theory. An intelligence analyst. But most likely, there is a high probability that this is going to be the future of humanity if Biden keeps sending weapons to its food. If Biden keeps pushing Russia to the corner with more billions and billions of dollars in weapons. From Miami, this is Ron Aledo. Thank you very much.